Hello and welcome back to the Motorsport Beithak podcast. I'm your host Didi, and joining me today once again is my friend and your co-host Vedant. On this episode, we'll be reviewing the rounds 1 and 2 of the Formula E Season 8 World Championship. So, let's grab some chai, take our seats, ready our opinions, and dive right into the conversation. Hello Vedant. It's been a couple of days since the Formula E we round 1 happened, round 1 and 2. We're a bit late, but because that is only because we were busy. However, it's great to be back here and be discussing what happened with you once again. Um, what were your first impressions on what happened on this weekend?
Well, my first impressions were obviously that it's classic Formula E. We had incidents, we had wonderful racing, and we had a lot to talk about as such. But then again, yeah, I mean, it's just basic Formula E.
A lot to talk about, definitely. So let's get into the first of the three things that we want to talk about today. And obviously, the first thing is the new qualifying format. Um, in my opinion, I think this is a great change. I did enjoy it. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, uh, firstly, obviously, it was clear as the day that it solved the primary purpose of introducing this format, which was to make the grid fairer, like not fairer, but the faster teams in the front and the slow teams in the back, basically. So in that way, it is fair, and it did just that because we saw how Mercedes cars, both the factory team and the customer team, dominated the entire weekend. But it also made for great entertaining watching as a spectator, as a fan on TV, because those knockout stages and those head to heads were quite
I
entertaining.
mean, yeah. I think two things about the qualifying format really stuck out to me. The first was the fact that Formula E finally had traffic issues in qualifying.
Yeah.
In the group rounds,
Yeah.
that is something we don't usually see in Formula E. And apparently, even 11 cars on track is a lot of traffic during qualifying for Formula E. So Formula One fans cannot complain about it. Next time something like that happens in F1. But the second thing that I want to talk about, Vedant, is the fact that I felt that there is a lot more potential in the production of how they are, broadcasting the knockout rounds in Formula E. I feel like, just the addition of that, of the gap tracker on the left side, if you want to call it that, it wasn't enough. I think a lot of fans did tweet to Formula E over the weekend, have a split screen, have this, have that, and the other, and which is what I'm saying, I think there's a lot more potential there, which and can make, that experience a lot very very interesting and a lot more enjoyable than it currently is. I'm not saying that it's not enjoyable. I think it's a great upgrade on what we had before. I think it resolves all the issues, like you said, that we had with the previous qualifying. But I think there's a lot more potential there, from at least for the TV audience, and I think Formula E should try to capitalize on that. And they did have a few production problems, even with what they tried in round one. I think the meter didn't work for one of the knockout rounds during round one and things like that. And then we had obviously had Da Costa having an error, not going on his green light when he was
Yeah.
supposed to go out during the knockout rounds. So it wasn't without problems, but what I'm saying is, there's a lot more potential, and we have this entire season to, get through whatever problems may arise, and just get it down for the Gen 3 season 9.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Da Costa issue was a classic Formula E incident. We have almost every weekend we have some bizarre incident in Formula E, and this was just that. But talking about the TV production value, TV gimmicks, I guess they did try head to head, like the split screen in the
Okay.
battle for pole in race in round one, but it was not very good because there was syncing issues and there was timing issues.
Yeah.
So and that's why they did not try it for round two, I guess. But yeah, as you said, they can make it a lot better than it already is.
Yeah.
And I mean
Yeah, that's
it.
what I'm saying. There's a lot more potential in the
Yeah,
production if they get
it's
it
it's
right. Yeah.
it's only forwards from here. It's just the starting, and they can always find those KPIs as such to keep improving.
Yes, yes. Okay, now on to the next thing that we have. So the second thing on our agenda is The Mercedes powertrain dominates once again. Coming to the season, we thought that the Mercedes and Jaguar, both of them will take off together, but it seems that it is the Mercedes powertrain that holds the advantage. Coming into this season, the Jaguars were nowhere, and it seems it's going to take them a while to come up to speed with the Mercedes powertrain. And I'm not even talking about the team dynamics and what they require to challenge for the championship.
Yeah, absolutely. I suspect that the Mercedes domination is thanks in part to the new qualifying format because it put Mercedes and Rocket Venturi in front, except for Stoffel Van Dorn's race two. But other than that, broadly, they were in the front. And I guess, I mean, we tweeted this out that life, Mercedes domination and death. So I guess it's just that I can't believe. Okay, so honestly, in the first race, I thought, okay, Mercedes win, fair enough. They are the defending champions, fair enough. In the second race, when Mercedes were not winning, the Mercedes customer team, the powertrain uh, customers win the race, and it's almost so interesting that no one can actually match them now that the qualifying is like that. In the We'll see how it goes throughout the season, but I suspect that the gap might get wider.
Yeah, I thought it was sad in the first round when Stoffel Van Dorn and Nick De Vries got paired together in the knockout
Yeah.
rounds, and only one of the Mercedes could go to the pole position knockout. But anyway, I mean, first race obviously we had the Mercedes 1-2, Stoffel Van Dorn losing out on a small mistake. The attack mode couldn't activate it correctly, and then in the second race, Nick De Vries making a mistake. I think into going into turn one. No, he went wide and then he got basically squeezed off, sort of squeezed off the track. But then we had Edo Montara, basically a 1-2 for Rocket Venturi, if I remember
One
correctly.
three.
Uh, Sorry, yeah, 1-3 because we had
Robin
I'm
Fines
forgetting.
taking P2.
Absolutely, Robin Fries taking P2 in the new Envision
Envision. Yeah.
racing car. So I think that was good. But again, Jake Dennis I think did a stellar job in race one, just like Robin Fries in race two. But let's talk about the third thing. Focusing on race two. The third thing on our agenda today is why was there not a red flag thrown after the crash that we had in round two? Why was there a 10-12 minute long safety car period, and why were drivers why were the cars so close to that crane and that car that was damaged? Why
Yeah.
and why?
Absolutely. And you would expect FIA and the motorsport organizers, the race directors, to learn from different incidents across the history of motorsports. And the last time a crane and some cars were so close, it was tragic, right? We remember Jules Bianchi, but it was very scary, and it was not acceptable of a world championship race, and it was not acceptable for any motorsport event, but let alone a world championship race. Uh,
Yeah, and
it's
again,
it's
like
very surprising.
I think they did come out and say they were only expecting it to be 3-4 minutes long, and they don't understand why it took so long for the crane operators and the marshals to get the car out. But at the same time, why not just red flag the race? And that is something that we have seen sports do, especially recently, a lot more often than
Yeah.
it used to happen in the past. So why not just carry that on and race under green flag conditions later on? I don't know if there was an issue with how long they had after, like whatever the schedule might look like
Yeah.
regarding how long they could have been on track and things like that. But yeah, I mean,
But
just I
when you look at it, that section of the track was too narrow for
it
even the
was
safety.
from a blind corner. Yeah,
Yeah, if for even the safety car to go across it. The when they were moving the car, when they were lifting the car, the the Mahindra almost hit one of the other Formula E cars on the halo. So
I
it
mean, they
wa-
had to come to a stop just so that the marshals could, maneuver around the
yeah,
track and, get the car in.
yeah.
And not all cars could pass through that section, just, alongside whatever was happening. So definitely, I hope they learn. I hope, I mean, there is the provision in the rules to throw a red flag every time
Yeah.
there's a safety concern. and things like that. So I hope they use the entirety of the rule book without creating their own rules.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Yeah,
referencing to
absolutely.
something else there. But yeah, those were the three main things we want to talk about, Vedant. But a couple more things. Definitely not a great weekend for the rookies, except for Oliver Askew. I think he did a really good first two races, first debut in Formula E, and like I said, coming from IndyCar, he will have an advantage in this particular racing series, and I'm excited to see what Oliver Askew does. He is in the Avalanche Andretti team too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And
And that goes to show that, I'm just gonna add, Avalanche and Andretti are in a good position to challenge for the championship. They do have Jake Dennis, who finished in the top three last year. He's done well in round one this year, and it seems that he is ready for a title fight once again. And if Oliver Askew can learn pretty quickly, they could be a force to reckon with for the two Mercedes powered teams.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, all Jake Dennis had a very great rookie season, very underratedly great rookie season last year, and now he is right there fighting for fighting for the wins. And I think he qualified in the top four in both races in Diriyah. And with BMW now gone, Andretti seem to be in a much better place. And I mean it can just grow from here because Andretti we know they have all the resources that they want and they are pure racers. They are not some uh, car manufacturer that can come in and go out. They are pure racers, so they will stay in Formula E, and hopefully, and they will make the most of out of it. And obviously, Oliver Askew, given that he had a brilliant first two races from not a lot of experience in Formula E, can absolutely if he gets to grips with it, they can be a real challenge.
Absolutely. And the last news coming out of the Formula E paddock this weekend was that McLaren is looking to join the Formula E, regardless of the fact that they have already committed to Extreme. So it seems that McLaren is actively looking to expand its racing operations. And they also said, well, it's not Formula E, but they also said they'll be looking at endurance racing at McLaren. So we're excited about that. It seems McLaren will be taking over the current Mercedes EQ team, and it seems that Nissan might be involved in all of this too somehow. Based on who'll be delivering the powertrains and things like that. So it'll be interesting to see what comes off. But I think the main takeaway here is the fact that McLaren will be joining FE, and we are always excited to see McLaren go racing regardless of where it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's so great news and so surprising actually because just today uh, the race uploaded a video which was talking about McLaren not being in a financially stable position just 1 year back. And we know that they've brought in a lot of investors. We know that they had a sell and lease back agreement with the MTC for the MTC. So to see McLaren go from there to invest in so many different racing series, they have already bought a IndyCar team, like completely bought the team. They have a from Extreme E team, as you said, and now they are looking into expanding their portfolio even more. So that is
I mean,
great news for McLaren and
I
for
have said this
racing.
time and again. I have said this time and again. Zach Brown has done
Yeah,
miracles ever since he joined McLaren, and
absolutely.
if and when he retires from McLaren, I think I'll be disappointed if one of the top racing series or organizations don't snap him up as an advisor or something. Whether that is FIA, F1, Formula E, or whoever that may be. I think Ross Brawn is not Ross Brawn. Zach Brown is a real powerhouse. But yeah, that's all from my side. But to recap, obviously, leading the drivers' championship is Edo Mortara, followed by Nick De Vries and Stoffel Van Dorn. Hopefully, Stoffel Van Dorn will have some better luck going into the next round. That is something we say every time, but usually does not happen. However, in the team's championship, it is Rocket Venturi, who are the Mercedes powertrain customers leading the factory team Mercedes EQ. And then in third position, we have Avalanche and Andretti, with Jake Dennis being their number one driver. Um, Definitely just the start of the season. 14 more rounds to go. We'll be in Mexico City in 10 days' time on February 12th. So I'm really excited for that, Vedant. What are your final thoughts?
I mean, this. So we just had two races with this new qualifying format, and we are so excited about it. And I'm pretty sure all the drivers in the top teams are excited about it. If this qualifying format serves its purpose, like we saw in Diriyah, and if it can deliver like we saw in Diriyah, this is going to be a great season. But more importantly, this is going to be a great eye opener for a lot of drivers and for a lot of teams who might have benefited from the previous qualifying format, as such, And no, I am not saying that Jaguar are not good enough, but Jaguar did not qualify good enough in the first two races. So that is something we need to look out for. And that is, I mean, luckily this is the last season for Gen 2 cars, and things might change next year. But then again, it would be a great eye opener for some of them, I guess.
Yeah, that is a great point that you bring up, and I think for my closing thoughts, the only thing I have to say is a somewhat disappointing start for Mahindra, and I hope they pick up the pace as the season goes on. We'd love to see them on the podium and challenging for the title, and fingers crossed. But once again, Vedant, thank you for joining me here. It's been lovely talking to you about Formula E, and we'll be back pretty soon, bringing you more content with the series. So stay tuned for more motorsport content.